All right, everybody, welcome to the weekly Success Zone conference call. This is our favorite call of the whole week. And this week, I have a very special guest, Mr. Jesse Stamm. He is an incredible leader. He knows everything there is to know about FFL, but he's an outstanding note taker. And that's what we're going to be talking about is the notes that he took at the Ignite conference, because we are fired up after coming back from the Ignite conference. And Jesse, how are you feeling?
I'm ignited.
Yes.
I'm like ignited and beyond requited. That didn't work, but I'm super excited. That worked actually too. Super excited. There was, I mean, so much to learn. It was like drinking from a fire hose of magic.
Yes. And what I would encourage you guys to do as we get through this, let's get some more people on the call. We only got 120 people on right now. We should have 200 people on here. So much information to share, so many updates, so many announcements, all the things that are happening that are great. Get everybody on your team on this call because you don't want to miss. Now, Jesse, tell us what your first reaction was to Ignite, and just give us a rundown of kind of all the things that you learned. I'm just going to let you rip, and I might add in a
Sure.
few questions every now and again, but um,
Sure. Well, the good news is I learned a couple things. One, that ChatGPT is sick and epic, and I'll be sharing at the end of this, not before, because I know human nature. I didn't have to ask ChatGPT about human nature. Is that if I put the links into the chat now, people will download them and get totally sidetracked and absorbed in reading PDFs while we're talking. So we're gonna do that at the end. But just so you know, you'll be getting three things: an Ignite recap, a recap of social media things that I took away, and a recap of the recruiting things that I took away. So three separate kind of big chunks. But the biggest thing that I got from Ignite, or the biggest thing that stood out to me at Ignite, was the room. So when I got into it, went to the last Ignite, and there was, I would say, what do you think, Trey? Like the last one, like 1,000 people, but maybe 847, 922, or you got a sense of 1,000 people. But sometimes there's a space, and it seems like there's more people. And sometimes there's political rallies, and like we had 50,000 people, and you're like, we're 20. But you just got a sense that there was, you know, a lot of people, but there are only 1,000 chairs. This one, we walked in and it looked like, wow, there's a lot of chairs here. I'm a little nervous. Are we going to look like dingbats to somebody who's here? And then it started to fill in, and then it got more filled. And then the room was absolutely packed with standing room only. And I was like, and how many chairs was it? How many chairs were set up, or how big was the room? Do you remember the number?
2,700 were set out.
27. So we had a minimum of 2,700 people there because there were like people stacked around the walls. I'm like, oh crap, are we gonna get fire marshaled on this puppy? But it's Florida. We don't care about rules like that. So, but I mean, so there was definitely 3,000 people there, guys. That means we tripled in size the number of people who were there. It was bonkers. But the second thing, you told me to just rip, so cut me off when you want me to stop ripping. But the second thing I noticed that was extra crazy is one of the things that was highlighted in my overall recap of things that stood out from all of the recordings, was that we are hitting two main demographics that are amazing. And there's two biggest demographics that are popped out, at least when I looked at the room, is super, super young people and the Latino community. There were massive Latino groups that were there, people that don't even speak English. Like, not like English isn't their first language, or English, I'm working on it, or I'm pretty much fluent, but working. Like there were people who got up at some points and they were there and they spoke no English, which was awesome because there was also a Latino Ignite afterwards that was sent, meant to totally support them as well in obviously Spanish. But what was great to see is that participation during the whole event and learning what they can, and probably recording and transcribing as well. And then the other group were super young people. There were people there who were 18 years old. This is their first job, 19 years old. And this was crazy, guys. There was a kid, and I say kid not to be demeaning, but he was 18. He started when he was 18. I'm going to go with, that's the kid. I think even 18-year-old would say, yeah, I'm a kid or young. And within 9 months, he's had months where he personally sold over 70,000, and his team is doing over almost a $500,000 in 9 months. What? So it was a big eye opener for me that we are at a place right now where people are blowing up and we have an opportunity unlike anything any of us has ever seen, unless you were here already building a massive team during COVID, maybe. But other than that, this is the time to do it. So sometimes in life, you wish you thought of buying Apple before the iPhone, and none of us did. And we wish that I don't know, bought NVIDIA before AI. I don't know. But there are times in life where you're like, I wish I would have. Well, this is one of those things where you don't want to be on a I wish I would have.
Mhm.
So it was just eye-opening.
It absolutely was. And I've been telling people, I'm like, there's never been a better time to do this because the momentum that's being created right now it's bigger than it was during COVID. And
Yeah.
people aren't confused. There's more clarity. Um, one of the things that's always fascinated me about FFL, Jesse, even in the beginning, shout out to Linda Limpasso. Uh, in the beginning, Linda Limpasso created the financial inventory, and everybody used Linda's. And I remember getting on a call, and somebody from the West Coast was talking about how they would set the stage for the in-home or set the stage for the sale, and they went through this list of things that they would do. And then I heard from somebody else in Florida who'd never met the person on the West Coast say the same thing. And there was this collective knowledge that was starting to permeate FFL where the best practices were being traded and everybody was getting better together. And that's what this conference was like. Everybody was literally reading from the same playbook, whether they were playbook agency or not. That was funny. Uh,
Good
but,
point.
but they're literally people that never talked to each other have discovered the best, fastest, most effective ways to do it. And now what we were doing is just helping each other get better. And I can only remember maybe 2015 that was happening, and really right now, more than ever before. And to see the enthusiasm of the younger people, to see the absolute success that's happening from people that weren't even here 2 years ago, hearing about the incredible persistency, how people are keeping business on the books, the lead strategies, all the different things that everybody's employing. One of my favorite trainings was the social media training that Des and Nicole did, because it really gave a lot of clarity to that part of the business and recruiting for me. But what were some of your favorite trainings, and what were some bullet points you want to share?
Yeah. So one of the I don't want to say trainings, but I guess presentation slash training was when I think it was Andrew and Zach went over some of the numbers. So I'll give you guys a couple of the highlights. I took some pictures of that and it's highlighted as well. But when we started as a company in, was it 2012? In 2012, the company started, but 2015 is when they started posting Hall of Fame. I don't know, you might have been there, Trey, but maybe Hall
Yeah.
of Fame wasn't created for 3 years, or it was created but no one hit it. I'm not sure. But in 2015, there were five.
2014 would be the first full year, and then
Okay,
2015 is when they started tracking Hall of Fame.
that makes sense. That makes sense. So 2015, there were five Hall of Fame agents. 16, there was only six. 17, there were 10. 18, there was 12. Okay. 1923. Okay, so that was a decent jump, but the first, five, what, 4 years or so, with little bits. Then 2019, 23. Okay, to 2020, 59. So we over doubled. We getting crazy. Okay. Then 21, 93, 22, 131, 23, 137. Okay, had a little softening, we'll say. 24, 31. Okay, so we're 22, 23, okay, we're holding strong, holding strong. This year, we're projected already with the numbers that have been hit thus far, which basically, if it's you're here, I mean, you're here, right? It's only going to take off 221, 221 people. That is crazy. And that just connects with all the stuff that we've been saying is that people are going nuts. It's 221 people over $400,000 in issue paid. Trey, how many people is it? There was a stat that you quoted that there's over 1,000 people who did over 200,000 with this company. When
Yeah.
you see people post other companies, I saw the cutest thing the other day. It was um it was an agency. I don't want to dog the agency, so it was like initials that rhyme with DAD, um, and begin with the word like Paul. And they had a gigantic check. It was this big check, and they were in their office. I mean, the office looked tight. I'm like, that office costs 10 grand a month in Orlando. I'm like, I don't got money for that kind of office. It was gigantic. It was beautiful. And they had their big check, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. And it said $3,500, biggest month yet. They're talking about what we post in a day. They're talking about what we post in a day as their biggest month yet, and they're excited about it. And they got a gigantic styrofoam cord check that they posted on social. Guys, FFL is in a different, not league, not like planet, but in a different galaxy. And when you see people come on stage and they're just selling like these crazy numbers, you're like, what is going on? So during that same one, they talked about like we sell 35 million with Aetna, we're their biggest seller. We sell 43 million dollars with American Amicable, we're their biggest seller. We're their number one IMO. Corebridge, 52 million, their number one IMO. Mutual, 103 million, blows everyone to another world. We're their number one IMO. Ethos, we're not writing business with anymore, but when we were writing business, we were their number one IMO. Americo, 179 million, their number one IMO. Guys, this is like crazy town. And people will interview and come from other agencies and they're like, oh, I was with Bill's Insurance Masters. And you're like, it's like not even, not in the same galaxy. Not even in the same galaxy. And then this one was something else that was crazy. We've done from 2014 to 2025 over $4 billion in sales. We have sold more insurance than any other IMO in the history of ever. That's crazy, guys. It's absolutely
That
crazy.
is. That is crazy. Imagine the face amount of insurance coverage that encapsulates. I mean, that's just issue paid premium. Think think about the death benefits and living benefits that we've put into place over the last 11 years.
I mean,
It
it's got to be like 50 to 100 billion or maybe more.
oh
Probably a
yeah,
lot more. I don't know. I can't even do the math.
I know. I'm thinking, well, shoot, if it's $100 for a $10,000 final expense,
So that's
I'm not
100x.
even going to try to do it. I mean, it's just a lot. It's it's
It's
it's
just a
probably
lot.
hundreds of billions of life insurance coverage.
$1 trillion. I mean,
Well,
it's a
needless
lot.
to say, we're doing a lot of good in the world, but I've never been so confident as to say that, um, you know, we really haven't scratched the surface. I see so much growth ahead. So many more people need our help. There's no shortage of leads. There's no shortage of opportunity. More people need to hear about this now than ever before. You go on Instagram, it looks like everybody's rich. I don't know if that's just my algorithm or what, but I ask myself a lot. I'm like, where's everybody getting all this money? Because I realized like when I got started, like we didn't have any money. I was buying everything on credit cards. I was pawning things, like, you know, I was just trying to make it. And I know there's a ton of people out there that would kill for an opportunity like this. So the things that you're covering, it's amazing to see what's happened. Um, what else? What's the next
What
big
else?
takeaway you got from it, Jesse?
Well, the next big takeaway is also you can do this very fast. You can the speed at which you do this, meaning go from zero to success or 0 to numbers that you yourself or your own socks are knocked off of is really only limited by your mindset and you. So one of the topics that was, and this is what I love about ChatGPT, I will not be doing lessons on this, but one of the things I loved is that when I uploaded um, a bajillion hours of transcription, it was really cool because I could just say, what were the top themes that were echoed many times? So that's easy. And it talked about explosive growth. It talked about momentum being at all-time high. But one of the things I thought was another major theme that if you're only selling, you're missing a bigger opportunity. So that was about recruiting. It also talked about, and I thought this was amazing, that, and this came out in the recruiting guide that I'll attach at the end, that people who recruit often sell more, sell longer, and have bigger numbers. And there's one person I think is worth highlighting because he's on this call. At least I think he's on this call. If he's not, we'll have to yell at him. But it's probably because he's selling a policy, and that's Dennis Leon. Why? Because
Well,
Dennis
Dennis,
is a rookie. He's been here. This is his first year, his first calendar year, and he's at $365,000. So $365,000 in premium. So if you're not there, or you're like blaming, or you're pointing the finger, or you're whatever, that was another topic that came out like a lot. And you'll see it in the Ignite recap. I have it sectioned off for people who are new, intermediate, and more advanced. So basically 0 to 3 month, 3 to 9, and 12 plus agents. And it talks a lot about in there the things that are popping off was taking personal responsibility, recruiting early, like right away, which Dennis has done, selling, getting on the phone right away, which Dennis has done, learning from top leaders, which Dennis is in the dial room every day and has done, making sure your lead game is tight. They talked a ton about leads, which Dennis has done. So it's really interesting. All the things that were talked about by all of these Hall of Fame producers, Dennis is like the poster child for. So it just makes sense that his numbers are what they are.
yeah. And I remember, I mean, Dom can attest to this, but we had a lock-in in December of 2024, and Dennis came to that. It was his very first event. He had just gotten recruited. He bought his own leads. He sat on the phone and dialed with everybody for 2 days. He asked a ton of questions, and then he plugged in routinely after that. And it's just amazing to see what happens when the system actually works, when somebody actually works the system. The thing I've learned in this business is it's not that the business doesn't work, it's that people don't work. So if it's not working, it's because they're not working. But Dennis flipped that on its head. He took advantage of everything, he leveraged everything, and he stayed in front of it. So congratulations to you, Dennis. And there was a ton of recognition, a ton of good stuff that happened. Um, keep going. This is all good stuff, Jesse.
Sure, sure. So the other thing that popped out, because I'm just kind of going down the list, um, that a lot of people shared adversity. They shared the things that were kind of stumbling blocks or things that they, had hiccups. Now, there's many times where people share the adversity they had in their life, and sometimes that happens at, I'd say, conference a little bit more. But I just knew some of the people on stage, and I knew that like they started off, they didn't have any money, or that they had addiction, or that they lost everything in a business, or there's that. But what I thought was kind of impressive during this time, at least it stood out to me mentally, and then of course, good old friend called it out left and right, and that is tons of people shared adversity in the business. That it's not just, magical from day one. It's not just, oh, it was easy. There were many people who said that they sucked for 3 months or 5 months or 2 months or didn't get a sale for a month or were sitting at 3 to 5 thousand a month for their first 2 to 3 months in the business, and then they had an epiphany. And what struck me by that, Trey, was that how many people start coming up with excuses after the first dial day, or how many people don't come off mute, unlike all the people who are crushing it, and don't come off mute. And then after 2, 3 days, talk about how the leads don't work. I'm like, did you just do like any of the things that were highlighted as the things to do? Or did you do any of the things that that person there or that person there or that person is doing? If you just did any of those things, then maybe we could have a conversation about the leads. But you haven't done any of the things that you know you got to do. And so I think what's cool about this business is that there are so many things that were highlighted, especially during Ignite, that it was like, okay, so if I just do those things, and you're going to get that list at the end, if you're brand new, if you just do these things, if you think about from a mindset perspective, if you get your head on right, if you just think about, doing these basic activities, these skills, if you just do XYZ, it works out. It's almost impossible for it not to work out if you just keep repeating it over and over again. It's like if you don't know how to make a certain dish and you're kind of bad at cooking, but you just made that dish over and over again, I mean, eventually it's going to be edible. Eventually it's going to taste pretty decent. Eventually it's going to work out. It just may take you a little longer. But that was a big thing, that culture of accountability, that all success is yours and all failures are yours. And I think that's happened. I've had people before on teams who are like, well, when are they going to this? Well, first of all, they is you, and when is when you choose. And gonna is a word you probably, need to reflect in a mirror about as well. Because ultimately it's when are you going to do the thing? Because all the information is there. Like we had an event, you chose to go or not to go. Well, I had this happen and that. Understood, got it. So maybe instead of it being for you 2 weeks to get the point or 1 month, maybe it takes you 6 months because you didn't get that information, you didn't have that osmosis experience. Well, then it takes you 6 months because there were people who shared them there. It took them a year. It took them a year of like a slow drip of death, but they knew they could get it and they didn't quit. So the event is just made to, you know, hyper launch you forward. But there are
Right.
tons of trainings that do that.
And what I love is, we've gotten it to the point where you talk about people are saying, when are they going to do this? When are they going to do that? And everybody has an idea of the week. This would be better if we did this. What's happened at FFL is we've made this irreducibly complex, um, meaning that you can't take any parts away from it and have it still function. And adding parts to it is just going to make it overcomplicated. It's like my son Harper, he's 15. And when he was 11, he played on this baseball team and they put him out there one day to be the pitcher. And he went to throw a strike to the catcher and the ball went to like first base. That's how bad of a pitcher he was. So we're like, hey, we started watching all these YouTube videos. We started doing all this stuff, like looking at everything on Instagram and Facebook and what kind of training can we get? And we saw all this stuff, all these drills we should be doing at home and take your socks and throw them at the hamper and all this crazy stuff. We became pitching, teaching experts just by all this extra information. And then what we did was we took him to a guy in town that was the closing pitcher for Oklahoma in the 1994 College World Series, and he won the game. Pitched the last 2 innings, shut everybody down. His name was Bucky Buckles. He's like a hometown hero, and Bucky is a school teacher now, but he did pitching lessons. So we're like, we'll let Bucky. Bucky knows how to pitch. He'll teach Harper what to do. So Harper goes up. Bucky says, "Okay, stand there, throw it. Okay, do it again. Do it again. Get a little closer, throw it. Okay, back up." He straightened out his shoulders. He goes, "Okay, throw it again. All right, now this time do this." And within 12 minutes, my kid was throwing hard strikes. And it blew me away, not by what Bucky said to do, but all the stuff that Bucky left out. It was irreducibly complex. It was fundamental mechanics of pitching really well. And that's what we have at FFL. The fundamentals are so sound that we can take people now with the system that we have and get them from not doing to doing and then doing at a high level. And some of the components that I noticed that are working across the country right now are um, just a few things. A few things are getting people contracted, getting a basic phone script, focusing on one lead type to get them started, plugging into a Zoom, having structure and accountability, plugging into a local office when it's available, and then making sure that they're putting the time in on a consistent, persistent basis with other people that are highly engaged. I mean, if I were to break down the system of taking somebody from not doing it to doing it, that would be the irreducible complex way that I would do it. And then giving yourself enough time to get enough reps in to be successful. And then the most important thing, only listening to people that are doing it at a high level. So that was a huge takeaway I got from it. What else did you get, Jesse?
So I put a bunch of quotes in the I put a bunch of quotes in the chat. Um I think for me it made me it made me overall.
Any other medications?
Oh,
Oh, I don't know. Dennis, you into medications? Did Dennis come in?
Sorry about that.
That's okay. You know what? Dennis just keeps selling. Trey, I lost track of my train of thought after I was like, what medications? What did you just
I know,
say?
just tell us.
What
Does he have
what
neuropathy?
yeah, exactly. I mean, it was a total like what are we doing? What's happening here? No, ask your question again, Trey. Do you remember now?
I don't remember either. I just want to see if Dennis sells that one. Oh,
Okay.
you were putting quotes in the chat.
Yeah.
You said that.
I don't know
Somebody
what
help us
topic.
out.
I got sidetracked on our topic. Someone help a brother out.
It was just something else that you picked up.
Ah, okay. Something else that I picked up. Thank you. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, let's get the sale. Dennis, let's get the sale. So something else that I picked up was I think it's easy to get down on yourself. So this comes down to a mindset thing. I think it's easy to get down on yourself. So I'll just be kind of transparent. I didn't know I was going to go here. I'm going to like this feel a little bit weird all of a sudden by by sharing this, but I feel like on my heart to share this. So so sometimes I don't know if anybody else, maybe I need some love in the chat. Does anybody else feel like they're not quite good enough? Does that ever happen? Anybody feel like they're not quite good enough? Is that ever? Okay. So you can put a one in the chat or a sad face or a thumbs up or whatever emoji you feel. So sometimes that happens. And when I go to events, occasionally that I will see people doing crazy psycho things. And in my mind, I don't want to speak this out loud, but I'm gonna have to share with you guys. In my mind, sometimes it feels like, what the fuck are you doing, Jesse? Like, what are you doing? Like, get it together, man. Because I see people do all these crazy things. And sometimes it can feel like that when you see people post crazy numbers and you're like, what the hell? I didn't do 30 this week. I like that guy or that person did this and you can get down on yourself. I've done that before where I've had a week where I was under 10K and it's so funny because I'm sure some people are like, shut up, crackhead. I wish I was there. Well, you know what? My first 5 months, I didn't sell 20,000 all 5 months together. And I was doing this like 70 hours a week. So, but what it highlighted for me was that voice is something to recognize. I don't want to say it's a problem because it's in your head. So it is what it is. But that voice, it came out in me when I went for months without selling anything and just sucking. And Kali was like, you gonna sell something, Jesse? For like my first 5 months in the doll room when I was in the doll room 70 hours a week from 8 in the morning till 10 p.m., 7 days a week. Like it was just, I don't even know how many hours it is, but it was ridiculous and I wasn't selling anything. And I was looking at all these people posting, and I'm like, wow, I suck. So I had to work on that. Then I start doing really well, and I'm like, but look at that. They're doing 100,000. Then I do 100,000 some months, and I'm like, well, gosh, Steve Giordano's doing 1.5. Then I come to Ignite, one of the 221, and I think to myself, oh, that guy's doing $500,000 his team in 46 minutes. It's always going to be easy to compare to someone who's doing bigger, better, more. It's always going to be like that. And the reason is comparison is the thief of joy. And so it's so easy in those sort of situations. That's what was big for me, to just go to that place in your mind, because I go there for a second and I have to step back and go, wait a minute. What actually matters right now is what I'm doing, and am I doing everything I can to accomplish the goals that I want to accomplish, versus making excuses, because it's easy to make excuses when you feel bad. Just like it's easy to point blame when you know that maybe there's a mirror handy that you should look into. So what happens is my brain, I'm just like being, this is like a lot of personal stuff, but let's just go for it today. I feel like it's a thing to share. Um, it's easy when I see other people succeeding or doing crazy things to go to that feel bad about yourself place. And the second feeling after that, I don't know about your psychological makeup, is to then get a sword and try to kill everyone, because clearly, if I don't feel good about myself in the moment, it's best to then just slaughter everyone else. I don't know if you've got anybody's got that Italian blood in them. It's easiest just to kill everyone else so you don't have to feel bad about yourself and do a Scarface action. It would be easy for me to say that Digna, the reason she's gone from 0 to 20 billion in 32 seconds is because she speaks Spanish and I don't, and that's an untouched population. But what really the better opportunity is to step back and go, okay, I don't speak Spanish. I'm probably not going to learn Spanish this week. And that's part of why she's winning. And I can't duplicate that necessarily. But are there any other signs of success that she has that I can, and see how far I get with that? So she's having amazing meetings. So she has an infectious personality. So she pours into her people left and right. So she does. And I can list 30, 40, 50 endless things that she does. Maybe I'll pick the top three. Am I doing those three? Because it's easy to find the thing that I'm not doing. It's easy to find the fault. But what if I just focus on the things that I can do, that I can do right now, that'll have a big impact? And I think that times everything. So yeah, it's easy to possibly see that, Wes and myself, we had, over 150, 200,000 submit week. And it's easy to then point out why that was, because it may be not as readily duplicatable. But are you in the dial room coming off mute, like
Right.
Wes and I are all the time? Like, if you just do the things you know you can do, and you do them at the energy and level that you know you want to do, if you put yourself in the shoes of that person who's on stage, what did they do to get there? What energy did they use? Did they kind of dial it in, or were they fully dialed in? No, they're
Mhm.
fully dialed in. And what are the things you can do now? So when you step out of that comparison place, it can free your brain up to say, okay, what are the things they are doing? And am I doing those things with the energy that they have to do it? And I think that that's where maybe there's an opportunity for any of you. I don't know. That's just one of the things. That's a very long, bloody, soul-bearing uh, diatribe, Trey, but I think it happens to a lot of people. I think it happens
I
to a
think
lot
so
of
too.
people where we compare, and then we look for problems, we look for holes, and then we leave the event and we go back to what we used to do instead of looking at the takeaways, which I'm actually going to post here shortly, and then doing those things with the energy and life and excitement that we saw. So don't compare
Right.
yourself to them. Just do the things that they did at the highest level you can.
I mean, I absolutely, and I think the thing that stuck out most to me, and this is probably the last thing I'll say, Jesse, but what echoed the greatest at the event for me was the level of commitment. That's what it was. Like, I was always shying away, because people would be like, "Hey, dial from 7:30 to 10 at night," And my initial reaction is like, how am I going to get people to do that? Like, what about balance? What if they want to spend time with their family? What if they, but all the people that are committed, that are killing it, are 7:30 to 10 o'clock at night. And the question I should be asking is, what's compelling that person to give this opportunity that much energy? And I'm sitting here limiting myself, saying what I can't do. Like, why did they take the opportunity and are willing to give it everything they got, like it's a once in a lifetime opportunity? And I'm still trying to sit here and make this palatable for the masses. Because the reality, I heard Warren Buffett say one time that in life, you're going to be presented with two real opportunities your entire life that could absolutely change your life. Now, I don't know if FFL is the first for you or the second, but I guarantee you it's one of them. And when you get to these events, which is something all of you should do, nobody should ever have an excuse to miss an event, because these events is how I built my business. And you see the people that are growing the fastest, it's the people. I remember the one girl, the blonde girl, that uh, I can't remember who she was on stage with, and I don't even know her name, but it was really heartfelt. And she said, I remember at this event last year, I was out there and I said to myself, if they could do it, I could do it. And next year, I'm going to come with this many people and I'm going to have a big team. And she goes, through all the adversity that I went through, that's all I kept holding on to, was like, I'm going to do the work when nobody else is doing the work. I'm going to show up when nobody else is showing up. I'm going to do it for me. I'm not doing it to be seen by other people. I'm doing it to keep my commitment to myself. And I did that long enough. And now I have, if you're on my team, everybody yelled. And all these people yelled. And I was like, that's what it's all about. Leveraging these events to grow your organization and allowing them to build a belief in you that you don't have already. Cynicism is keeping a lot of people at a low place in life, because you're sitting there and you're criticizing everybody else. And I was at a place at one time where somebody that I didn't think was that talented, because I was being super judgmental, said, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I'm thinking to myself, they aren't going to do it. They suck. And then it was like God spoke to me. And I probably should be careful about saying this because I don't normally put this out. But it was like God said to me, why are you begrudging faith? Without faith, it's impossible to please me. And I looked at that kid and I go, God, what's wrong with me? How did I become so cynical? If they want to change their life, they absolutely can change their life. And so can you. So that's what I got out of anything, was the commitment, the level of commitment that the people have that are winning at a high level, how they're showing up, how they're not doing it by themselves, how they're embracing people and the culture and putting themselves in an uncomfortable position every single day. And that's where the joy comes from. That's what makes this fun. If you guys are like sad, sucking your thumb in the corner, talking about how bad it is, it's because you aren't embracing what we got. This is actually the best part of the whole thing. Going to the events, celebrating with other people, learning new skills, getting uncomfortable, going to the lock-ins and dialing when you really don't want to, keeping your commitments. So that's what I got,
And
Jesse. What do you want to end with?
um, you got 4 attachments in the chat, so download those. And I would say the recap one is great. It'll let you, give you some bullet points for where you are in your journey right now, whether you're brand new, whether you've been here for a bit, or whether you've been here for a bit more. The social media stuff is great. I would say focus on that if you're dialing all the hours of your schedule that you said you were going to dial, and you're buying leads and you're moving, then maybe spend some time on that too. Or while you're, instead of watching Law and Order, maybe do that. But don't get stuck and think that the social media thing's gonna, pay your rent tomorrow. You got to actually dial too. The recruiting, that's something I would say it was clear to everybody who was there that the people who are just killing it are recruiting, and that most of the people started recruiting before they were gods of sales. They recruited from day one before they sold anything. And there's some quotes for inspiration. But the last takeaway that I would say is um, embrace the suck, because it actually doesn't suck. Like, we're not digging ditches in the Texas heat. Like there are people who literally dig foundations out in the Texas heat and are sweating to death, or people in oil fields who I got to meet a bunch who are literally sweating, are covered in oil, will get cancer most likely because they're surrounded by toxic chemicals, breathing things in, having like, a very interesting, reality, and could die doing that. We're not doing any of that. We're sitting in air condition on a phone. Like, what are we talking about? And we have to embrace the suck? Like, come on. It doesn't suck, but it emotionally can. So, a lot of the stuff you can take away is the emotional fortitude you need to have or need to get. And, like Trey said, lean on God, because ultimately, He doesn't give you more than you can handle. And how foolish are we to think that you'd have a desire in your heart that God couldn't help you accomplish? What? You think God can't do it? If you think God can't do it, you've got other things you need to work on, because clearly He can. So all you got to do is ask and just focus on the fact that the path is laid in front of you. There's nothing to discover, there's no new script, there's no new magical thing. You've got, if you literally only had the stuff in those chats, and your team, whichever team you're on, not the magical team that has the magical script with the magical system, just the one we currently have that's on the hub, that's on your team's page, that's in your team's post-it notes. If you just use that plus some of this stuff and just didn't quit, you'd be like all those other people whose names are in lights. Just don't quit. Just focus on all the things. That's all I got.
All right. Well, this was a great recap. Make sure you guys are at the national conference. If you thought Ignite was good, national conference is going to be extra good, and we will be doing some lock-ins. So fflmeetup.com if you want to come out and meet us. Some of the lock-ins coming up. Make sure y'all do that. Come to the one in Vista and Orlando, because those are going to be two of the best ones. And we'll talk to you guys again soon. Thanks for being on with us. Make it a great week.
Deuces.